Hey everyone! Today I am continuing my experimentation with alcohol inks. This time I'm going on to a copper foil tag or two with some embossing. So let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm doing another kind of sort of experiment today with alcohol ink on metal, and I thought I would just try and create a metal tag. So I have had this copper tooling foil for like ever. Back in the early 80s I did punch tin, like the big pieces of punch tin that you would put on the fronts of your cupboard doors or whatever. And so I have some scraps left over that have been laying around the studio for all this time, and I thought, you know what, alcohol ink works on metal, right? Non-porous surface. Here I have a scrap of it here so you can see. It's not real heavy. I mean, I can easily bend that. So this is probably something that at this gauge you could put a soldered frame around it. If it was a smaller piece, you could use it in jewelry. I could put this in my art journal, which is probably where it'll end up. So if you wanted to do something with a little more heft, you would need a heavier gauge metal. And then in that case, I don't know how easily it would emboss. I do have a Sidekick, but I don't really have any dies that I wanted to mess around with to try to, I'm sure this would go through. But I hand embossed this, and I was kind of going for a steampunk look. So I'm going to show you first the materials that I used to emboss this tag. So I had just a variety of old hardware pieces that I started with, and I was really just experimenting. So, you know, if I had planned this better, I might have chosen something else, but I just grabbed stuff. I have a whole box of stuff, mark making tools and hardware cloth, and another little box that has springs and caps and whatnot. So anyways, I just grabbed some stuff out of there that I thought would work. And you need to work from the back primarily. So you're going to emboss, and then I turned it over and I also debossed. So for example, if I had this little plastic knob, it was like a screw-on knob. On the back side, I laid it down. I took a ball stylus. That's a fairly large ball. There's a smaller one on the other end. And just holding this down, I went around it, drew around it, pressing into the metal. Then I turned it over, and now I have a real easy guideline, and I can just go around and deboss just to deepen the image on the front. And then wherever there were dents on the back, where I dented through, or I made a circle on the back, I came to the front and went in the middle of the circle and just pressed down to make a little indent in the middle of the circle. So that's how I did that, and that. For these lines on the edges, I did that from the front, and I simply took this is a really heavy spring, and I just put it where I wanted it, and I pushed real hard and rolled it back and forth on and off the edge of that, and that gave me these embossed lines. And then also, I think in the early 90s, I bought several of these little brass stencils, and I used them for making cards, for embossing on cards. This was before the whole machine embossing craze came along and we did everything by hand. But it's very small. I think you can tell, like next to my fingernail. Those numbers are little. So from the back again, and anytime you're going to emboss anything you want to read, letters, numbers, you want to reverse this, and I just put it down, and I used the finest stylus. I have quite a few. The finest end stylus, that one, that I have, and holding this in place, and it might be a good idea to tape it so it doesn't move on you, because metal against metal will scotch real easy. But I just embossed in the openings, and then where there were really tiny lines, like on this 4 or on this cent sign, where there were tiny little spaces, I took the end of tapestry needle. It's a needle, but it has a blunt tip, and I could get in those really fine areas with that. And that I just left embossed on the front. If you can see, I'll tip it different ways, but that's embossed. And then for the screw heads, I have this. I have no idea. It's some kind of a pipe fitting, I assume, but it has this screw sticking out of the side of it, and which made it easy. I'm sure you could just do it with a screw. This just made it easy to hold on to and put a lot of pressure on it. But from the back, I just put it where I wanted it. And for these, because I wanted them in a straight line, you can just lay a ruler down and lightly pencil a line on if you're trying to keep something in line. But I just pressed really hard on the back. Then I flipped it over to the front, and I ran my stylus around the outside and across that screw slot to make them pop even more. And that's where I'm at. So I thought I would, now that I have that done, what else did I do? Oh, the other thing that I did, and I don't even know if this is necessary, but I did it anyways. As you work, it gets a little bit bent out of shape. And I just took this dowel, piece of dowel, actually I think it was a handle from a sponge brush, because it's got the hole in the one end. But I just took this, and in the open areas and all around, I just pressed to try to flatten out any dents or dings that I made as I was working. Kind of like you would a rolling pin sort of deal. Just to get, or an iron, just to get things smoothed back out again. Now, the thing with alcohol inks is, if you have oils and just the natural oils from your fingers, and since I've been all over this, I'm going to take some extra fine steel wool and go over the surface of this to get any, and it's been around a long time, so there's probably dirt, so I want to get any dirt and oil, anything that will interfere with the alcohol inks. So I'm going to stop the camera and do that, and then I'm going to just lightly wipe it with alcohol to kind of prep it for the alcohol ink. Okay, it's all clean. I used 4/0 steel wool. It's real fine, because I don't want scratches. So I went all over front and back with the steel wool, got rid of all of the steel wool fibers and dust, I think. And then I just dripped some alcohol on and used a clean microfiber cloth and just cleaned it off. Now when you're doing that, be real gentle, because this, if you're using 36 gauge metal, it's going to dent easy. So you've got all your embossing down, you don't want to put dents in it or push it to the back again. So if you're cleaning it as you're wiping the alcohol or whatever across it, just go real gently so that that doesn't happen. So I chose some alcohol colors. I have no idea. This is a total experiment, you guys. you know. I have no idea what they're going to do, how they're going to look. I'm just going to kind of go for it. So I have alcohol blending solution and just plain 91% isopropyl alcohol. At some point I am going to try this fire copper powder, and what I'm going to do now so that it's ready, I just have some alcohol in this little container, and this, again, you guys know I've been arting for a really long time, so a lot of these supplies have been hanging around for a while. I don't even remember why I bought this copper powder. I think I used it when I did theorem stenciling. I think that's why I have it. And it would take me 3 lifetimes to use up this container. But you need to be careful. It's really, really finely ground, and the powder will just go everywhere if you're not careful. So I'm going to hold it over here, take the lid off, and you can see it's a really pretty color. And I don't know if this will work or not, but I'm going to put a generous amount on the end of my, oh, there goes powder, my palette knife, and put it into the alcohol. And all over my top of my table. Alright, I'll get the lid on this before I have a mess. And I'm just going to stir it up. I may need to put some more, put a lot of powder in there. I may need to put some more alcohol. I don't know. I do know this alcohol is eventually going to evaporate off wherever I put it on. And I have a feeling this powder is going to be left on the surface and will brush or flake off. So this piece will need to be sealed with an acrylic spray or something to hold the powder in place. It's kind of pretty. So we'll see. We'll throw some of that at it in a bit. I'm going to try and get some of the alcohol down first. Now, my thought was, if I have it taped to this little piece of foam core, and I just, if you can see, I just cut the very edge at the top and bottom with some washi tape. I'm hoping that once I take the tape off, I know I'm going to have a little empty area there that maybe I can just use the brush and some alcohol ink and just kind of fill that in. So I'm going to take my rings off because I always forget, and then I end up having to dig art supplies out of my rings. Alright. So I have this latte. This is pretty old too, but still good. I'm going to start with this because it's the closest in color to the tag, and maybe try and get some dark on the bottom here. And I'm just going to try and move it around into different spots. And it's kind of pretty already. Then I'm going to take some blending solution. I'm going to hold it up and just kind of flood it a little bit and get it to move some more. And go the other way. And I think I'm going to get my heat tool and maybe kind of use it as I go to get those alcohol inks to kind of dry where I would like them to be. And I watched a Tim Holtz video yesterday after I did my alcohol ink experiment yesterday, and he suggested you can uncap your alcohol inks but put the caps in front of their respective bottles, because there will be, and I think I'm going to put them behind so they're not in my way, there will be little remnants of the ink inside the cap, and then if you get it on the wrong bottle, then you're going to risk intermixing your colors and having a surprise next time. But he said that there is the way the bottles are designed, and you can kind of see it. There's like a little plug of ink inside the tip that it leaves to kind of seal up the bottle so that you can leave them uncapped and they won't evaporate while you're working. So, good to know, right? Okay, I think this is pretty much dry. I'm going to get my heat tool down and hanging up over here. Some of these other tools out of the way. And I'm going to try red next. And I'm going to wait. I think yesterday maybe I just did things a little too quickly and didn't really know where things were going to end up going. So today I'm going to try to be a little more patient. Maybe a little more purposeful. I don't know. We'll see. I'm liking this. I'm going to blend this across there a little bit more. And you can see right here where the blending solution just pushed the ink away. I know each time I drop more ink on here, it's going to change again, because each successive color is going to push the next color, the previous color, out of the way. And I had pulled out blue and green, but looking at this, I kind of like where this is going. I'm going to put some of this copper. What am I going to use to put it on with? This copper powder. Let's try a Q-tip. See what that does. I'm just going to pick some of this up. Let's try in here. I have a feeling, although I kind of like the texture this is making, I was going to say I had a feeling that I maybe needed to put more alcohol, because this is kind of turning into a paste. It is turning into a paste. I don't know how that's going to work. Let's throw some more alcohol in there. I'm going to dry that first, though. I have a feeling it's just going to end up coming off eventually. Let's see what it does. Oh, there goes my tag. The heat made my tape release. Alright, I'm going to clean what I wanted to do. Let me grab a paper towel. I want to just tap this and see if the powder comes off a little bit. It's not bad, though. Yeah, more and more of it is coming off. And I'm going to leave it alone. Maybe the binders, if I put more alcohol ink on top of that, because this mixture with the powder and the alcohol that I mixed up, it doesn't have any binder in it. So there's nothing really to make it stick and stay there. So I'm thinking maybe, I'm going to add a little more alcohol to that. I'm thinking maybe if I drip alcohol ink on top of it, which does have a binder in it, that might help it stick. But I don't know. Feeling a little like a mad scientist today. I'm going to go up here like that. that to move. I'm going to use the blending solution here. Let's get that moving through and drying at the same time. I'm going to hold it up here and tip it. If you can see there, it's accumulated right there pretty well. It's just a real pretty, almost a rosy copper color. I do have some just regular copper powder. I'm wondering if maybe I should have used that instead of this color. I'm going to do these screw heads, see how much sticks. See, I'm doing the hard work for you. When you go to play with yours, you'll know what worked and what didn't. Yeah, alright, I'm going to move this out of the way because I think that's enough of that. I mixed up a ton of it. Well, if I add green to this, I'm afraid it's going to just be brown. I'm going to go with just a little bit of this blue. Maybe we'll get a patina going, who knows. I can see that metallic powder moving. Can you see it? It's getting pretty. I like the blue in there. Alright, let's turn on the dryer here. It dries really fast. Now, question is, do I want to go on top of those screw heads? Let me try and hold it to the light and see. I'm not sure. Well, I'll do that later. I'm going to put a little more. Where's my blue here? This blue is Mermaid, the red is Poppy Field, and then the brown was Latte. I had this green called Botanical. I don't think I'm going to use the green. I think I want a little more blue over here. And we'll just let it run up there so it's kind of staying on the same side. There goes some more of that powder. Can you see it running through there? I don't know if you can or not. You know what it reminds me of right now? It reminds me of a gasoline puddle. You know how you see oil or gasoline in a puddle of water and it makes those pretty coppery colored swirls? That's what it's reminding me of. Up here where I put the copper powder, I'm really not liking it as well as the rest of it. I think it could use some red. We're going to put some red up here and in here maybe. I'm going to drip it on there too because I do want to try and see if maybe those binders will hold some of that powder in there. I'll do a close-up of this in the end. I think at the end I'm going to vary when I'm finished with this, and then I'll probably ruin it, but what I'm going to do is very lightly use that 4/0 steel wool to expose, like the numbers are kind of obscured now, they're kind of buried. I could probably do it with, let's see, let me just put some alcohol on a Q-tip. I can probably very lightly go over the top of these and bring those numbers back. Q-tip might not be the best tool to use for that. It kind of worked. Maybe if I just put some blending solution. Nah, now it's going all over. Nope, that was not good. Oh, it's kind of cool though. It did bring back the numbers. It just pushed all the ink. And I should have known it was going to do that. But that's not terrible. There's just a lot of ink accumulated right there. Alright, now what do we want to do? I'm going to go back to the brown and just drop a little in there. That tape got quite wet. Let's put some new tape down. You know what I could do maybe? Instead of tape, let me see, I think I have a push pin here. I put a hole right there in the top of this because I want to put a grommet in it when I'm done. That should work, and then maybe it won't fall off. Alright. Stuff happens, right? I want more color on the screw heads. For sure. Well, I think I'm going to kind of stay conservative and maybe just try it there first. And I mentioned the other day when I was doing the cold wax painting that I have a tendency to overwork things. Kind of think I'm getting there. And just because I work so intuitively and I don't really plan like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and then that, and then when I get to this point I'll be done. I don't work like that. I just kind of start and I just kind of know when I'm done. When it looks good, I'm done. And sometimes I never get there. Sometimes I got my caps all mixed up now. Sometimes I just don't get there. Sometimes I hate it all the way through. And then it ends up becoming something else, like that collage that I did in the cold wax. And I just ended up going all over the entire thing and turning it into an abstract painting because I really didn't like it. And that's okay. To me, that's the fun. I don't like to... I mean, there's certain things in life that obviously I plan, like, you know, a trip or something like that, but my art, very rarely do I plan anything. I mean, I like go into it going, okay, I'm going to make a tag and I'm going to use that metal and that kind of thing. I know what supplies I want to use. I kind of know what the thing is going to be, but the process is usually real intuitive. So I kind of like it. I kind of do. It's pretty. Not what I was expecting. I think I was expecting it to be a lot more transparent, like I would see more of the metal. I don't see as many of the embossed things, the screws, yes, but like this piece and those two, the bigger pieces, I'm really not seeing them, which is okay. It doesn't feel steampunk at all anymore, which is also okay. So, you know, you just don't know, do you? Maybe do I need something more here at the top? Maybe I'll put a teeny bit of green up here at the top. since it's not steampunk anymore, I'm going to let it be something else. Psychedelic, that's what it is now. Again, just more fun, you know, it's like you never know, down the road, I may actually have a project in mind that I want to plan out, and then I will know what this technique can do. So, it's all good. I know what I need. I need one of these little Pixis tools. Just a little one. This one. I got this whole package. They're really cheap. They're just like an eyeshadow, a foam eyeshadow wand, but in different sizes and shapes. And they're handy to just move the color a little bit. So I just put a little blending solution there. I'm going to take some of this blue and just dab it on there and try to fill in. And I don't mind that broken look that I'm getting down here. To me it just kind of looks aged and decrepit. Okay, now we're getting into the dangerous area of overworking. I think I need to be done. I think so. So I need to add the grommet up there. Wait a few minutes. I'm going to dry it with the dryer, but I'm going to wait a few minutes until it's really, really dry, and then I'm going to use this Krylon clear matte finish. I think that should work to hold the powder on. Although I can't tell if it's coming off anymore. I think the alcohol ink did help to hold the powder to the metal a little more. When you're working with metal, just remember, I cut this with scissors, but the edges are quite sharp, so be careful if you do this that you don't cut yourself. You could go around the edge with they have that adhesive copper foil tape that's real easy to use. That would finish it off really nicely. You could even use washi tape, depending on what you're going to use the tag for. You could go a totally different direction and emboss flowers and a sentiment and use springy, brighter colors. This is just for inspiration and experimentation. So I hope I gave you an idea of what you could do with this. So I'm going to dry this off, and then I'll be back with some final thoughts. Okay, I am back, and here's where my tag is. It's looking really good. Put a eyelet in the hole up there. I just used my Crocodile to punch the hole, and then I used these wide eyelets. Comes 4 different finishes in a packet. There's 40, 10 of each color. So I picked that coppery, kind of aged coppery color. And I like it. I think it'll go in my journal at some point. I still need to spray it. I decided I probably should take it outside to do that. And then look what I did. Can you see that? So I did break out the Sidekick machine, and I just took this embossing folder, says ticket on it, admit 1 ticket, and it's like a row of 3 tickets. And I had this scrap piece left over, so I just cut it widthwise to fit 1 ticket and a little bit of another one, and ran it through, and it embossed beautifully. Really good. and then I just dropped some ink on it, and I did take the really fine steel wool and rubbed across it, and it exposed the embossed letters better. I can do a little bit more on that, you can see. So that's fun. Something, I'll do something with it. So I had another tag cut out. While I had the crocodile out, I just put an eyelet in there. So that's it for today, kids. I hope you enjoyed my experiment for today. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. All of those things really help my channel grow, and I need to grow. So I appreciate you watching. Until next time, go make some art. Bye.